Welcome to Movie and a Bear, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and we have a Movie and a Snack edition with actually Movie and a Cider.
Movie and a Cider?
Cider, Cider. I don't even know how to say it anymore because it's spelled differently depending on where it's from.
You said the word before.
I don't know. Anyway,
Aaron.
So we have some wonderful old school friends and some current friends and some new friends, and everybody's a friend helping us with this podcast tonight.
Monorail. I hear those things are awfully loud. It glides as softly as a cloud. Monorail. Well, but that's the wrong thing. I am the monolith expert.
Not monorail.
That was very good, but now I just want to watch the monorail episode of The Simpsons.
So, Aaron, what's your name?
Oh, I'm Aaron. I'm the monorail expert.
Monorail or monolith?
Are you from Shelbyville trying to sell us a monorail?
No, it's a fantastic and economical system for transport. I'm Aaron. I'm the monolith expert.
Monolith.
Yeah.
Hey, for real, can we just stop and watch that episode? It's so good.
Yeah, we'll watch.
That was the era when like Dana Gould and Conan O'Brien were writing for the show. Anyway, I'm Blake. I'm your Futurama expert. The episode from season 4, episode 3, Love and Rocket, is a direct parody of the film we watched today. It's also the Valentine's Day episode. It has one of the best lines. Love confuses and infuriates us.
Yes, it does. And to my right,
I'm Randall, and I'm kind of an AI expert, I guess.
I'm Otto, and I'm the expert of blocking out Dan telling Blake and
Aaron
to shut up.
Shut up.
Because I had to do that a bunch.
You can't stop.
When did that ever happen?
You can't stop our programming, Dan. You will never shut up.
So for those that don't know, there's this movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey. It came out.
Watch Dodgeball. I'm sorry,
in like
guys.
1980 or 1968.
1968.
It was kind of Arthur C. Clarke and
Stanley
Kubrick kind of had this idea. That was the heyday of sci-fi writing and the beginning of sort of movies really pushing that genre in a different direction and coming up with great ideas and not necessarily explaining anything, because they explain nothing in this film.
I think during this time, sci-fi journals were having a big liftoff. Like Ray Bradbury, Harlan Ellison, a lot of those names were getting like a lot of publication time.
Right, right. This also is 2 years after Star Trek, the original series. That was 1966.
Wow. And referring to, the Space Odyssey 2001 movie, there was a 2010 second movie that was done.
There?
There was. It explains like what the monoliths did when they got to Saturn.
They weren't monorails. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's a 2061 as well.
Yeah.
But that's not a movie. That's just a book. And 3001.
3001.
Where Frank, spoiler alert, Frank comes back to life.
What?
Frank died?
Frank died, people.
Spoiler alert, Frank dies.
He was floating in space for 1,000 years.
All right,
Frank Reynolds?
Who wants to give us a brief breakdown on what this actual
Before
movie
that,
is about?
Dan, is the 3001 like a book as well, or is it a film?
Also a book. Not a movie yet.
Done by, probably not Arthur C. Clarke, because I think he passed at that point.
I think he wrote, I think he might have written that, actually.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
The internet shall save us.
Interesting.
quick synopsis here for our viewers. This is a slow, deliberate film.
Purposeful.
I used the word ponderous before, I think. It's kind of a fancy word
trying to
for
get
it.
into. Dang it.
But I think it's kind of talks about the story of humanity in a couple different sections of it. The dawn of man starts our film with one of the earliest inventions of man that separates humankind from, I guess, the rest of the animal kingdom.
Tapirs, mostly.
And apes. Then we look at 2001, which when this film was made was still, 30 years.
I think you mean when this film was set.
Yeah, you're right.
I was thinking, is there going to bed or no?
No, it's time for bed. I've had a lot of cider. No, you're right. When the film was set, 2001, there's still these technological advancements that are definitely giving humanity an edge. And then we kind of move forward to like, well, what's the next leap forward? We had the dawn of man where a club was invented. Sorry, listener, if you haven't seen this film, that's a minor spoiler alert in the first 20 minutes of a film that's about 2.5 hours long that's got five ideas. The first idea is 20 minutes long, and it's somebody invents a club.
Yeah.
Sorry to ruin that for you. But
Club's a bone.
But I think it asks some interesting questions about, what is humanity's relationship to technology? Is there ever a point where the technology will become so sophisticated that it's more powerful than we are? And what does it look like when we take that next step forward to become greater than whatever it is that we are right now?
Some things can't be explained.
No, so you do like a 20-minute psychedelic light montage.
With weird sound effects and no audio for like half an hour. No dialogue.
That was the biggest jump cut in history, by the way,
Yeah.
Whoa, you're
Seriously.
right.
in all of cinema.
You're
It was
right.
the biggest jump cut.
You're right.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought
Holy
about
cow.
that.
It went from constant movement to still. Just like no transition, just
Well, no, I'm talking about the bone being thrown
Oh.
up.
Yeah.
The bone throwing up and then jump cutting to
Yeah.
the space station.
Because it was like
Yeah.
4 million years ago, and then
exactly.
Yeah.
4 million plus
Top
2,000.
that. I don't see anybody top that. Let's see Christopher Nolan top that.
He tried.
He's in his IMAX castle, just wringing his hands, like, I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm Christopher Nolan.
So this movie was recommended by our youth correspondent Otto, who's here at the table. Otto, why did you pick this film?
I mean, I feel like in the past couple of months, I've been getting a lot more into cinema because for the past 11 years, I've been watching the same 100 films just on repeat. And I feel like just recently I've been wanting to
Expand it.
expand more. And Kubrick, it's Kubrick, man. Just like,
He does interesting things.
Does this feel really different from the films that you've seen before?
I mean, like comparing this to like Ratatouille, yes. And like,
You're right. Ratatouille is a bit more heady and expansive.
Ratatouille is, it's the journey of rat kind.
I mean, there's
Hair.
I'm not doing a bit. There is a point where he's describing the flavors, and it does have a similar. The screen goes black, and explosions of color represent what he's talking
And
about. So
has
it's actually
the spack of Zarathustra as he develops the perfect recipe.
it gets pretty close to the same kind of like
So-
mind bendingness, but
Not to be too glib, Otto. It sounds like this is different though from not just Ratatouille, but other movies. Like I know we'd watched Wes Anderson films a couple of times before this. This has got a different feel, doesn't it?
very much, yeah.
I should hope so.
Yeah. I mean, just from a technological standpoint, where there's the framing, these were all, you knew when they were trying to show space because you had it was framed. You were looking out a window.
Or you'd see just
Or you would see nothing and then just a dot.
or like a massive planet or a moon
Yeah.
with a tiny dot ship next to it. I want to ask Otto before I forgot. Is this the first Kubrick you've seen, or have you seen other ones he's done?
This is my second one. I watched this Shining in like January 2024.
Damn, you're
wow.
You're such a cool kid.
I don't remember. Okay, I would say though, I would argue that I think this movie would be more scary than The Shining. I think
It's more of an existential horror.
yes.
And The Shining's still not like directly stabby, get murdered, which is a threat, but it's more like, I don't know what's happening in this hotel. Whereas here's like, I don't know what's beyond my veil of perception.
This is very interesting because I think ultimately this is an optimistic film. But
You're a fool.
well, maybe I just got a very different read on it.
No, I'm curious about your take. I was freaked out most of the time.
I don't want to jump in too early. So like, how does the tension or the scary element come into this film? Because I think I know the answer to that, but I just want to make sure that we're all thinking about that.
It's the music, right?
It's the music.
I mean, I
The
think
breath.
Breathing.
I think especially the like 5-minute black screen with like the scary music at the beginning and like after the intermission, definitely.
Fun fact for the listeners, because Dan's Plex is a little funky sometimes, we thought the beginning 5 minutes was just a busted Plex until Randall saved the day and Googled it.
We'd say it was a technological failure.
Yeah, the streaming video was like, is it there or is it not there? Is it there or is it not there? And like we could hear it but not see anything. And I guess
What did it mean to you guys that he did that? That was a choice.
that was
a
an
choice.
active choice. Yeah,
I think that the sound and the music was meant to create this emotional weight. I think it was there to create a tension and maybe even like anxiety amongst the viewers. There was a point when we were watching that I even said, this breathing and seeing this exo vehicle out in space moving around, you realize how vulnerable you are as an air breathing human person and how dependent you are on just your little shell of safety.
Man, I love taking in oxygen and emitting carbon. It's the best.
yeah. As most life forms do.
I think it symbolized birth, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Darkness and then Wow, where the hell am I?
Oh yeah.
And you notice how the spaceships, they kind of look like sperm? Just
A
saying.
little bit, just
a little bit.
little bit.
And there's a space baby at the end.
I was seeing sperm in the psychedelic
Yeah.
ink
I don't
whale
know.
drops or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
One of the things that we did differently for this episode, I mean, we've done it before.
Oh,
but
we didn't even cover the ciders, did we?
we decided to Randall was like, hey, let's do cider. And I was like, awesome. Because
Fist bump for
you found a Seattle cider company cider called Odyssey. And, you know, this is in 2001, Space Odyssey. So it's about a journey.
Well, I get it.
Yeah.
Wow, Blake.
We
You're
had
not the Odyssey expert.
I can't even spell the word.
I can't either. Every time I try to spell it, I mess it up. So we had some snacks that we did, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
We also had, I think we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ciders just to taste small amounts. And I think all of them were really interesting, and we'll talk about them. We had Bull Run, Bauman. We have this French cider, English cider, Aspall, and then the Odyssey. And then a pepper cider from Seattle Cider Company also. We're going to chat about those in a bit before we get too far into the movie.
We're gonna get to those once we hit Jupiter and go beyond our consciousness.
Yes, we'll hit the third act after the second intermission.
Seventh intermission.
Yeah, I know.
You beat me to it.
So as compared to TV shows, because I know both y'all watch a lot of old TV, and I'm pointing over at Randall and Otto. I'm like,
I want to
as far
clarify
as
how old.
70s era, 80s era
This is
TV.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
So you have a frame of reference as to, you know, how, I guess you'd say the technology and what they presented from the standpoint of, hey, this is like a computer and computers are awesome, but they're also really big. And we know, you know, there was a funny scene where the one scientist or person who represented the government when they went to go find the monolith on the moon, he had an interaction with his daughter in a video chat or video phone call from AT&T that cost him $1.80 something.
It was $1.70, I think.
$1.70. He said, what did you want for, you know, your birthday? And she said, a telephone. How dated does that make this? Because it's like, okay, a hand, you know, like telephone as in like I can make phone calls like this and talk to you in space. Or is she talking about something different?
She wants that see-through candy cell phone that just every time you press a button, little like jujubes pop out or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm trying to extrapolate like so place and time.
Well, she was talking about an iPhone 72.
Yeah. So there is technology being presented in one way. Like I think of like the Buck Rogers TV series. This had real similar kind of visuals. The screens actually had something on them that wasn't like pre-imposed or post-production imposed onto the screen. You saw whatever it was on there. And that had to be pre-made. So you had these kind of very kind of interesting. I just try to think like, how would you make that? I know from a computer standpoint and a video standpoint, it's easy to do. But
well, he had artists doing the matte, M-A-T-T-E. Is that how you say it? Just matte?
Yeah.
Like matte backgrounds. He had to hire like 12 of them to get them done within the time frame. Like he had those for the backgrounds and the moon setting and all that. I mean, I imagine insane film techniques and just very precise choices.
Well, I wonder, like, so the video call thing that we saw, or like the instances where there was a video call represented, it can be really difficult to do that. Because when you take film of a video screen, sometimes you get like a screen tear. Yeah. Because the refresh rate is slow enough that your film capture rate will see like the partial rendering. Mm-hmm. So I almost wonder if maybe there are some bits that were added post-production, like that call with the early doctor and his daughter that was put into place. The other thing I was thinking about is when we see ships moving, almost every time you can look into a cockpit or you can look into like a seating bay
or a docking bay,
and you see people like moving around, walking around. I think Kubrick was really careful to try and add humans in small spaces in those frames. So that you would see, like, yeah, there's people that are operating these tools. There's people that are operating these ships. And even, there's like a landing bay early in the film. And we see, like, there's like a little landing room, like a control room, where there's people doing air traffic control type work.
I mean, he's a fiend for detail. In the little pod guys.
Oh, Dan's gonna fight. Let's fight.
Ow, Dan hit me. The little batteries have like instructions of what to do in case the batteries explode.
Or the toilet instructions for zero
toilet
gravity.
instructions, which is a very fun joke. Toilet. But he has like actual like everything the attention to detail is kind of crazy. Like it feels like this movie was made for like 4K restoration, and Kubrick was like, no one's gonna catch me slipping.
Yeah. So I did a Google search on the special effects used for this movie, and it goes into the thank you Google AI for giving me a lot of information. Now I'm sorry, and it's funny as I said that it's like poking up on my phone.
I can't generate those results, Dan.
I can't generate that, Dan. Sorry, Dan.
Google keeps trying to send Dan to space.
So those scenes, those slits were stills. That wasn't motion. Those weren't moving because they were so small. You couldn't really see on the screen because they were really, really small, but they looked like people. They were pictures of people in that scene, in that setting, just cut down and plopped right onto it. Onto the model that they filmed, including the model that was like, because there was a scene where there was a ship that was landing on the moon and they could just look forward and they would see, it's like a backup camera. I was like, wait a second. They're sitting on the top and it's backing up to it, but they look out and they can see it. So it's, total backup cam. It's like creepy, weird.
For 1968, this is some pretty high production value and pretty high quality effects that are being done. Like the models and the work with that, I think is really well executed. And you think of like other films, other sci-fi from that area. Like I mentioned Star Trek, the original series, you saw like the spaceship flying through, like that wasn't as well done, I think, as this, or even like the cheesy 1970s, like Buck Rogers in the 21st Century or Battlestar Galactica. Granted, these are TV shows and not movies, but
that is something to consider because TV had if not a similar budget, a much more spread out budget. Like we got to make this last for 20 something hours of television versus, Kubrick cut 19 minutes from this film for pacing. And it's still 2.5 hours.
So
if this movie was made today, how long would it be?
A lot shorter.
I mean, I was joking before.
I don't know, Dan. Like they're making everything like 2 hours now.
I was gonna say like an hour and 20 minutes. Like, I mean, I think
if we're talking about today, like 2025, I could see like a current day Kubrick if he had his if he got his way, full stop, 3 hours.
Wow.
Right. I could easily see someone today
like an auteur, or he's gonna make his art.
Yeah, like if someone gave Paul W.S. Anderson, that director of the There Will Be Blood, if they just let him have carte blanche and he just got to go to town, I could see 3 hours easily.
Yeah. Would it still so much of the film be like this space ballet where you see these ships moving through?
That's tough to say.
Landing carefully on the moon.
A lot more happens in films these days.
Well, I'd say every movie exists in a context of when it was made.
Yeah.
When it was made.
Right.
So I think that the attention span was just different back in 1968 than it is now.
Agree.
Right?
100%.
We're fragmented. Our attention's 27 different places at any given moment. And so I don't think even Kubrick, if he was alive, I'm going to make 2001. I don't think it would have looked like this.
Yeah, we can say brain rot is real, right?
Yeah, brain rot is super real. And I think because he made it when he made it, he was able to focus on the details like that. Like every scene, every shot lasted more than 12, 15 seconds, right?
So the one exception being the kind of horror spot where Hal goes after Frank, and I remember commenting and flinching a little bit, like, oh whoa.
Yeah, because there were like 4 cuts in like 3 seconds to like focus on Hal.
It's like
increasingly boxed in.
It's like a Bourne film.
Yeah, something.
But there's so much in this film though of like seeing the curved the floors for these space stations and ships, and then using like the camera orientation to like flip it upside down, or even see how there are people that would like walk on this like circular surface.
They actually had a physical, that was a real set.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was real. It was an actual Ferris wheel that they built in to be able to rotate it and have them walk, and the camera would follow them. Everything was wired, so in case they fell or there was any problems, they could just reshoot. Yeah, so like the zero gravity scenes, that's all wire work, but the way the camera angle is, you don't see, you don't write it on wires.
That's so cool. I love that.
I mean, how do you introduce to an audience the concept of like, the weightlessness and zero gravity?
Yeah.
Because I think there's very few instances on film that before this that would have, I'm thinking of like that, was it like 1911? There was that film of like going to the moon where they launched up.
And the Lumiere production where it hits in the eye?
Yeah, it hits in the eye, and then they're like popping around with their umbrellas.
You gotta watch that one. That one's fun.
And hitting these like space frogs on the moon, with their umbrellas.
Oh yeah.
And then they go back and they eat their cheese and bread or whatever, it felt like they're very French
This
in that
feels
movie. I don't know
pretty
why.
accurate.
They had their French wine and their cheese and bread. But like there's no concept of like zero gravity in that film. Here, we're a year away from, the Apollo moon landing. We're, 2 years after Star Trek, which doesn't really do a lot with zero gravity. I think.
The Planet of the Apes came out the same year this did.
Really?
Yeah.
But Dan, spoiler alert, that was Earth.
I know, but still, it went to
Sorry,
space. No, the original one. So,
I was crying.
all right. Yeah. So, all right. So going back to why this was selected and how does this compare to other things that you've seen from the 60s and 70s as
Would
far
you
as
also add in
presentation
other
and
space films?
yeah,
'Cause
space film, well, sci-fi,
there's stuff I've
space,
seen
anything. Yeah.
where I kept saying this would be great in the theater. There's stuff I'd watch I watch Gravity, would never watch at home. But Dan's
Thoughts on that,
question.
Otto?
Sorry.
I mean, you picked it, so I'm guessing that you had an interest in it. You heard about it. There's frames of reference that I'm sure you didn't catch because of things you've been exposed to at the age that you are. Nothing wrong with that, but thoughts on that? Like, again, going back to like technology and how that was presented versus how it might be different today. If they were trying to remake this today, how would it be? I mean, we're talking like Alien or any of the other kind of, we're going to go into space and we're going to travel and find stuff, but lots to
What's
talk
the
about.
question?
Just what just
answer
extrapolate.
19,000 questions at once.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of go off into left field there. No, just so thoughts on other films from this or TV shows from this era,
Have you seen many shows from this era, from the 60s?
or even cartoons.
I mean, shows. I'm sure I have.
We've watched 80s shows, 90s shows.
I mean, if you don't have a great answer, I would pivot to like other space themed film.
Like even Star Wars and
How did it relate to
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Galaxy Quest.
Okay, so I saw a lot of similarities of Star Wars, like that scene of where the spaceship, whatever, is coming through.
From like off screen, coming through like not Death Star, what are those called, Dan? You like Star Wars.
Star Destroyer.
The Star
Yeah, that sounds
Destroyers.
right. Way to go,
yeah.
Randall.
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
That's a Death Star dummy.
Yeah.
That was the original line. Harrison Ford's like, "Hey, idiot." That's like,
So,
anyway.
so do you think?
Yeah, are you going to ask if George?
Do you think there was influence?
Lucas, yeah.
100%.
Right on.
I mean, shoot, that one docking bay looked like Aaron pointed out. That's where the Millennium Falcon landed.
Pretty
Like
much.
someone said, like, yeah, that's where that came in.
And the lighting and having people that were pre-imposed,
Well,
they
I
looked like they were
wonder-
moving, but I guarantee you.
Well, I
they
wonder
were
how
just
much of the
static.
lighting has to be stark to show that it's in space.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of space, everything for a while is just, here's how you know you're on a ship. It's stark, it's white, there's no earth tones, it's all white or black. It's very clean and crisp because we can't have debris and dirt in space.
Right.
That's how you know you're in space.
So when we were watching it, there were numerous times where it was monochromatic. Like in the beginning, it was very monochromatic or very close to everything was blue shade or gray shade.
Earth tones.
Earth tones.
Yeah, dust and dirt and apes.
With the ape scenes.
Tapirs.
And then when they were on the spaceship, every time they had them outside of the cockpit, it was all grayscale. And then the room at the far end was in red. So from a lighting perspective, it's like I know that it was done purposely. Everything's done with a reason. So why do you think that they did that? Was it a visual cue or just how to separate the rooms and how to address the computer is red? Every time you see Hal, everything's in red, and including scenes where it's, as you had mentioned while we were watching it, Hal's perspective. It's the fisheye lens. He can see everything. And then when it wasn't from his perspective, it went to a flat shot. Yeah, just thoughts on that.
You're like
20 questions deep again.
You're throwing so much at me. Like,
Here,
How about this,
something to
Otto?
answer.
Just
Pick something.
explain to us what the movie means in like a paragraph. Just everything. Like explain to us so anybody can, because I have no clue what this movie was about.
everything, everywhere, all at once.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, I'll watch it again. Let's do it again for the podcast.
No, I think this movie is about like 5 different. There's so much. I feel like in every Kubrick film. Well, when I say every Kubrick film, I mean this and The Shining. That like I feel like at the ending, it's up for like consideration. Like the end of The Shining, like
it's like something to debate. Like what do you think this happened
Yeah.
here? Well, I think this. Well, you're wrong. I think this happened.
He leaves it
So what do you
intentionally
think
vague.
happened?
Yeah.
What do you think happened at the end? What do
Yeah,
you,
let's
what do
argue
you,
about
yeah,
it.
what?
Yeah.
so when like the baby infant thing.
Star Child.
baby.
Yeah, spoiler alert. There's a Star Child.
I fell asleep in the movie.
Did
Yeah,
you?
you did.
No.
You're talking the whole time.
Excellent talk, Randall.
That was Blake and me. We were commentating.
We missed each other.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, I think the ending is the little star child.
Yeah.
Is okay. So in the Pixar movie Soul, there are. Have you guys seen that before? Soul.
I think we did it for the podcast.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We did an
Well,
episode.
most of us. I'm not sure if Aaron has, but
I don't think I've seen it.
I think you'd like it.
So
Anyway.
it's so to sum it up, basically, it's just like a bunch of like things on this like invisible like planet where you like find your personality before you get born, and then once you find all your like personalities, you like jump from this
portal.
to like a portal to the world, and I
right.
believe that baby is jumping into a portal or like about to leave.
Are you saying this is like Soul prequel?
Yeah.
Sure, in the same universe.
So it's like reincarnation. This is a soul waiting to reintegrate back into the into life.
So that was a highly evolved Dave that had transcended his human form. And you know what happens in the next movie? Not that we're going to watch it, but he merges with Hal.
How romantic.
They call him Halman.
That's less romantic.
Bauman and Halman, get it?
I don't get it.
I get it. I don't like it.
Yeah, you got to talk to Arthur about that one.
All right. So
Let's call him.
let's get a Ouija board.
So
There we go.
this was the 8th highest grossing film of the 1960s, domestically in the U.S. I just want to ask if anybody else can guess of the 1960s.
Planet of the Apes.
I was gonna.
Planet of the Apes.
Anything else in the top 10? Planet of the Apes is not one of them. I am afraid.
That might be more of a cult classic. Well, I mean, this
It
didn't do
is.
this well in the theater.
I
when
would say
it
The
started.
Apartment is probably up there at number... No? The Apartment, no?
You got to think completely different genres. Like the 1960s, a lot of films were still fairly safe.
Hey, Aaron, I don't know what came out in any year.
There's got to be a Hitchcock film in there.
Okay, so we've got The Sound of Music,
Oh,
It was in the 60s?
yeah. Wait. Oh, wait. I have a guess.
1965, right in the middle
Wait.
of the 60s.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
Well, we've got The Graduate,
Oh, of course.
Holy yeah, I did not. I'm not doing a bit. I really had no idea these came out in the 60s.
1967.
Okay.
Butch
okay.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was
That
1969.
movie so much.
Do. You know this, Blake.
Is this a Jungle Book reference?
Yes, it is. 1967.
Now that
Yes,
I
sir.
got that, I'm going to leave. I'm done.
My Fair Lady was 1964.
Oh, Otto's favorite.
Okay, and anybody know like James Bond films that came out in the 60s?
Oh, Skyfall.
Thunderball.
Thunderball.
Ew, Thunderball in the top 10?
And then what made Elizabeth Taylor so famous? Well, one of them that made
Chicago?
Elizabeth Taylor.
I genuinely tried. I didn't know.
New York, Atlanta.
Randall. I feel like you might know.
There's a movie called
All right.
What's it called?
Cleopatra.
Oh,
It was Kirk.
Kirk
I'm not a
Douglas.
good cinephile. I'm a fun cinephile.
But then the others were kind of like How the West Was Won, Funny Girl, Goldfinger, like rounds out from.
I
in the
forgot
top 20.
that westerns were so pretty big in the 60s.
It was, and so this I
Yeah.
think was kind of a step towards more sci-fi films.
In the 70s.
3 years later, we have THX 1138,
right?
Correct.
Which is
which is seminal as well, right?
right.
It's like those two films are essentially Star Wars.
And I kind of wonder, what I'm leading to is talking about the legacy. Like, are there other movies that came after 2001 that maybe couldn't have been made? I don't know. You sound like you're ready to go. You're ready to go.
Interstellar. That's
After 2001.
after 2001. Interstellar came out. Wait, what?
Like a decade ago.
Like leading up to
What?
like
Wait. Are you asking what happened after 2001?
No,
Space
I'm
Odyssey?
asking like are there movies that got made because 2001 was successful?
I agree with Otto. I think
Interstellar.
Chris Nolan probably told them, I want to do 2001, but my way. And we got Interstellar, which is fully like playing with space
It's
and
way
time.
different. It's space and
Well,
time and like
Yeah, it's playing with space and time and being able to not comprehend it until you hit a certain point of consciousness.
Yeah, but it talks. Yeah, exactly. Because who put the wormhole there, right?
Yeah.
Who we don't ever really know.
Yeah.
Who the
Dan.
monolith is.
Well, yeah, we don't know who put the monolith there. Yeah,
you find out a little bit in the 2010 second movie.
I mean, I should probably go ahead and come clean. I'm the one that put the monolith there, guys. I'm sorry.
Right.
Did you make them?
You told me to. You're the monolith. You said you're a monolith expert.
All right. So,
On a
Otto, did you
rail?
learn about apes in our history in school?
Those are
yet?
Anchapaglacabalabalids.
Australopithecine.
Is that something you have any reference
Akalaka
or
bagbags.
access to?
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Hominids?
Like apes evolved into humans
Into space babies.
Yeah. And then the space babies evolved into humans, and the humans evolved into older versions of yourself. That
And then
just-
I'm going to be a monolith when I grow up.
This is like that song of like girls who like boys that like girls that like boys.
Yeah, you nailed it. Okay, can I pronounce this from what Brian texted? Australopithecine
Yes.
expert.
Australopithecine.
And that was a type of ape that is evidently credited or believed to be the origin of all humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of the evolutionary. I think for a long time that the missing link is what would have been termed, but that's meant to be or understood to be. In my very limited knowledge of this, the origin of all of the humans that we have today.
I'll tell you, as far as the film, I hated the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
all this.
how much could have been cut out of that?
So Blake, why did you hate the 20 minutes?
The screeching really bothered me.
You don't like ape screeches.
It was not fun.
I said at least they're not throwing their poo at each other.
You did say that.
If they were screeching less, I would have preferred it. Like I get why he had it in there. I understand. I'm not going to question Stanley Kubrick, but I would have liked less of the screeching. It was a relief when the monoliths droning cello noise. I'm not even sure what the sound was.
It was
but the drowning steady sound, just the vocals. Yeah, that's right. Because a lot of guys like, like
choir.
When that drowned
like
when that drowned out the screaming apes, that was a relief for me. Like, thank God I don't have to listen
So
to these things anymore.
I understand you didn't like that part of the film, but like, does it change the meaning of the movie if we take away that context about?
Oh no, I don't want to
humans?
I don't want to take it away. I just didn't like
advancing.
I just wish they did something different with the sound.
Okay.
Like I liked having that made sense. Like you see where people, where it started, and then they're
What's the very first invention?
Blessed, cursed, just
inspired,
endowed with this advanced monolith, and then you learn like, oh, we can do more.
We can do things,
including kill each other.
Yeah,
defend their water rights.
Technology
by
equals violence.
Killing the other guy.
Yeah. Well, just fast forward 2,000 years, they do it with lawyers, right?
Compared to other films, sci-fi films, and the messaging that it does, is this a fairly narrow film in the messaging? Is it understandable during each of the parts? Or is it one of those, like, we're just going to throw ideas against the wall and whatever sticks?
I mean, there's a through line, right?
Is there?
It's following the monolith doing its thing, but it's affecting. It's almost like oh darn it! It's like the history of the world where you see a montage of stuff happening around a central theme of, well, the monolith keeps showing up. And here's what happens to these various eras of people. Just some are closer than another. I could be wrong. I'm not.
I don't know, because some of the films that we've watched have been like fairly narrow in what they're just relationships.
Well,
is the topic.
Maybe we can back up with this question in a minute. Like Otto, I think you said this movie is about like 5 different things. Can you give us a rundown of like what are the themes or what are the topics that this movie's about?
Okay.
Sorry, I was doing space, baby, and space.
Star Child. Like Star Child. All right, sorry, Otto. Go ahead.
And that's not a Rick and Morty reference either.
It's a George Clinton reference.
Daniel.
Make our funk the P funk.
Yes.
Star Child.
We want to be funked up. So wait, what was your question? I got.
So is that there's like 5 themes, or there's 5 things that this movie is about. I was going to see if you could give us kind of a list of a few of them of those things.
I think death and rebirth / reincarnation.
Like resurrection, reincarnation. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what's the right word? Like overcoming? That doesn't seem like that's achievement. I think achievement. Unfinished.
Kind of like growth and progress.
Yeah.
Like an evolution.
Yeah. Okay.
And probably like, I don't know, Kubrick.
Yeah, here's a question. Do you think that the monolith has more in common with humans or more in common with Hal?
Yes.
Ooh, I think it's Hal.
I think it's Hal too.
Because like I said, when the computer becomes smart enough to lie to you to get what it wants.
Right.
Because it's not necessarily self-aware, but it knows what the end product is going to happen, and I can get you. So this is a very hot topic right now.
I disagree, Dan. I mean, I agree
Really?
it's a hot topic. Like that's
Yeah,
our favorite store from
Let's go buy Invader Zim shirts.
Yeah.
We're sponsored by Hot Topic.
But Hal learned how to lie 5 minutes ago. Humans learned how to lie 2,000 years ago. Or
but
what?
they think
Their
fast,
perception of time is so much different than ours. Like a computer can cycle through
Right.
millions of operations that would take us millions of years.
That's true.
Correct.
And this idea that there was going to be a fault with the communications mast, like that was Hal's, I think, first lie.
Yeah.
But I think he did it in an act of self-preservation because he didn't want to be shut down. He knew Dave and Frank were going to pull
he
the
was
plug on
asking him. Dave asked him, "Are you profiling us? Like,
Right.
are you developing a profile? Because right now you're asking questions you shouldn't be asking."
Right.
Yeah.
But that was Hal was lying, and he was setting up a situation to manipulate and test and potentially eliminate the humans that were on board, even at that point. But those are characteristics that humans had even from the first 20 minutes of the film. There was this conflict over a water hole, and some ape murdered another ape, and that happened at the dawn of mankind. So I think humans have been in this game a whole lot longer. But to get back to the original,
we kind of
question-
nailed murdering each other. No big deal.
Yeah, I know, we're experts. But I think the monolith is equally alien to humans and to Hal. I think it's this completely foreign object that was too sophisticated for the apes to really interact with in any sort of meaningful sense. It took more evolution and more growth for Dave to be ready to receive this information and to quote unquote understand it with the light show that we got representing his expansion of consciousness, his growth into something beyond being just a human. I think we weren't ready for that when the monolith was on Earth.
And that's tricky because we never see what happens after them figuring out to use a bone as a weapon. We do. You see tapirs being dropped, and they assume, okay, so they figure out how to get meat.
These are successful hunts.
He defends the water hole from the opposing tribe,
and that's a successful
defense. As far as we go. And then it throws the bone in excitement, and we cut to 2001. I'm kind of curious what happened to those apes.
So it's the bone, it's thrown up into the air, and as Randall said, it's the largest jump cut in the history of film because then we see a much more sophisticated tool that's in orbit.
It's a big bone.
It's
bone.
It's
It really
just
is.
a much more sophisticated technology.
So hold on, a big bone like the Rock of Love. What's that called from Mr. Science 3000? Ship of Love.
The monolith is obviously in charge. It's nudging human beings along.
Is the monolith a tool, or is the monolith acting of its own accord?
Well, the monolith is in service of something way beyond us.
I think it's humans are responding to the monolith.
I'll admit, I looked at some trivia before we met up today, and I think I saw some Kubrick saying, "Here's what I think is going to happen," and he was talking about how if we evolved, if we meet alien life, it's not going to look like people.
No,
it's going to look like sources of light.
A computer.
Like beyond, not a computer, just beyond what we can even imagine. And when during the light show, there was a bunch of diamonds that were shimmering and jumping around the screen, I thought, oh, those might be the aliens that Kubrick was talking about.
Well,
so maybe they send the monolith to say, hey, you know what? Give you a little jump start. Help you catch up to us. Come on.
Yeah.
We need more space babies.
Is there anything else on film that's quite like that light show? Is there any?
Tron?
I mean, as far as
Interstellar
the wormhole.
Does, as far as big spectacle, I'm not doing a joke. Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal when they're like, oh yeah, it's everything's black and white. And now it's just beautiful, gorgeous Technicolor. It's there's the vibrant greens and the vivid, just everything.
Yeah,
the
it was very monochromatic.
fields.
Like I said, on the ship, it was like gray or blue scale, and then red at the end. But then it just suddenly jumped to this
every
color, and it's just
so the entire Roji Biv.
You're really Blake. I want to credit Wizard of Oz is a great answer because the audience at that time would not really have experienced color film. It was something that would have kind of blown them away in the way that the light show here. Oh, even some of the special effects and seeing things in space, I think would have blown away the audience in 1968.
Whoever put the monolith on the moon 40 feet or 100 feet down or whatever it was, and they discovered it because it was emanating energy or radiation or something.
It had a giant magnetic field.
It had a magnetic field.
Vast lands of magnetic fields.
Sounds like somebody who buried the monolith on the moon.
Yeah, so who dug it and who put it there?
I was pointing to me and I'm pointing to Aaron.
Somebody has an answer. I don't know. The 2010 Space Odyssey movie answers that, but we're not going to get into that right now. Aaron's perplexed. He's like,
I'm thinking about 3 different questions, and one of them is hey, didn't we drink something during
Well, the guy that doctor drank his meals out of the cups.
That's so depressing.
Which was not as depressing as drinking delicious ciders. But until we get to ciders,
Yeah,
Wait, so
I
this
snacked a little
but
before
we
I
had
got
some
here.
snacks. We had snacks too.
well, this was before astronaut ice cream and Tang were
Correct.
invented.
And Dippin'
Correct.
Dots, the ice cream of the future.
yeah,
What,
ice cream dots.
I was
It's
thinking
just freeze dried, but in small form.
NASA.
Yes, as the future.
foods.
Yeah.
So, dear listener, if you have not seen this film, I would say set aside 2 hours and a half, 2.5 hours,
And watch it.
and watch it. It's worth seeing. But
Absolutely.
But be prepared. The food they eat, most of it's through a straw. Like you get a slushy of green beans and like reconstituted carrots.
And the stuff that Dave and Frank had to eat looked like
It was reconstituted. It was like water added.
Yeah. Do you want a ham sandwich that looks like just a cube?
I sure
It
don't.
tastes like it. I don't know. Have you ever had space food?
I've had like freeze dried like ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
Have you
Those
also
are
had
cool.
Tang?
What?
Tang?
Okay, I guess not.
So Tang,
That was a withering look, listeners.
yeah. He's like, what?
Guys, I'm old.
Same.
I've had Tang.
So Tang is a precursor to Kool-Aid.
No.
I don't know. Was Kool-Aid around? I don't know.
I think
The
Kool-Aid was
internet.
around. Maybe. Oh.
When I was a youth, I remember there being ads for Tang, and they had an orangutan as the mascot because that's hilarious.
So when NASA was
All
developing
right,
the
Kool-Aid
Apollo,
came first. Kool-Aid came out in 1927.
oh, good grief!
Tang came out in 1957.
So when
What's up, Otto?
when NASA was trying to develop the space program for the Apollo, they were trying to figure out how do they feed astronauts in space and make it
The
like
lightest weight possible.
The lightest
Don't
weight
get
possible.
skinny.
And so they took all the water weight out from like what was essentially like an orange juice mix. And so Tang is a powder that you pour into a glass of water. It's got some sugar in it.
It's like Kool-Aid. But
And it's like Kool-Aid, but it's got nutritional value.
Frankly, it's closer
Kool-Aid.
to a Sunny D.
yeah.
Yeah, it's more like Sunny D.
It's a powder Sunny D.
Sunny D is a little syrupy though.
Oh no, it for sure is. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
But like Tang and astronaut ice cream, I was going to ask like which is grosser between the two. So
I
I don't know about either.
So Tang is something that you could actually take. And what I used to do was I would take a popsicle and I would kind of start melting it a little bit, get it water, and then roll it in Tang. And so it would be like
a Tangsicle.
a Tangsicle, and it would turn your face orange, and anything it touched would turn orange because it's literally like orange oil. It's oranges that have just been dehydrated and ground into a powder.
Otto, this
with
is
a
why
little
our
bit of
backs
sugar.
hurt and we don't sleep well.
Tang is not responsible for that. That's natural
sure
aging.
is.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
Tang is a miracle of dehydration.
We'll get
and
you some
space
at some
food.
point, and you'll get introduced to it.
I
No.
100% would rather have Tang than what they were eating in 2001. You saw
Yeah.
how sad those meals were.
They looked really gray and green.
But they weren't complaining about anything. So
No, they had jobs.
They didn't
got
know
paid.
that Tang was a thing.
Hey, the one guy learned from his parents in their video call that got sent. The other guy, the other
The
astronaut.
man sending just sitting there with a big cake.
I know.
That's so rude.
Yeah, look at this giant cake that you can't have on your birthday.
They mentioned that in the video call. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, we're
So-
sorry you can't have any, but hey, happy
All
birthday.
right. So enough of this digression. Otto, what'd you have to snack on for this episode?
I had some popcorn that
Sugar.
said
Want me to grab the bag?
he threw it away. But
Oh, there's a bag right there.
Oh, yeah.
The label. of
I'm on it.
yeah, thank you.
We got somebody who's going to retrieve the bag so we can say. So these the
I mean, we
the
can ask Randall about Tang.
popcorn
So
crunchy.
I had two popcorns. I had one that says "Little Kettle Could." That could.
the little cuddle could.
And it's just kettle corn. I liked it. I had it towards the second half of the film, and it definitely fit it. The second half is definitely a lot more experimental than the first. And for the first half of the film, I just had a plain butter popcorn that said "Butter Believe It."
Butter believe it. Butter believe it. And so was the butter flavor like oily and artificial, or did it have more of just like it tasted like butter?
It tasted like butter.
Okay, so like a dried kind of flavoring agent that they put on it. Yeah.
Like a butter powder, almost like
Yeah.
a Tang powder.
A tang powder, kind of, yeah. So we digressed a little bit from drinks to now popcorn, and there was also this other sweet treat that was floating around. I didn't have any because I know better. I've had these before, and I know better because I would sit there and eat the whole box myself. I'd be like, "Oop, oop, give me some of them."
They're addictive and amazing. I think they're British, are they
Yeah,
not?
they're Maltesers. Well, I don't know if they're British, but they're definitely European because when I was in Europe, I saw these a lot. But yeah, Maltesers. They're like Whoppers, but like
but good.
Better.
but good, yeah. With like it isn't malt. Wait, Whoppers is malt, right?
Yes, Whoppers also is a malt.
And this is just like crunchy inside. It's just
So malt is corn syrup, basically, that's just been, cooked down, and then pulverized into powder. So it's going to have just this straight sweetness. And malt, depending on what you did with the corn prior to pulverizing and drying it out and stuff after you roasted it, can have, as we've had with beers, many different flavors and many different directions that you can go with it. The actual, when you say malt has a more dry, thin character to it than stuff you would get that would be liquid, because you can also get malt shakes, and there used to be a thing called malt shops where they put a teaspoon or quarter teaspoon of malt powder into the ice cream or milkshake.
Milkshake malt.
For reference, Hado, malt shops are where Marty McFly would get beat up by Biff in the 1950s.
Yes.
And Back
that's a
to
malt
Future.
shop?
That was a malt shop, yes.
So
Well, I would actually like to correct you and Biff. Well,
Please do. I'm
What-
wrong
what-
a lot of the time.
okay, well,
This is before the manure scene.
yeah, before the manure
But
scene.
after the Libyans kill Doc.
Yes.
But like before the manure scene, Biff, I almost just said Bill. Biff would beat up George McFly and
Yes.
not Marty. I would just like to correct you.
yeah, he beat up Marty thinking he was George once. He typically would beat up George.
You didn't know that, Aaron.
No, I did.
When did he think that he was beating up? What? When was
He
this?
he
Didn't
beat
mean
up
to
Marty.
digress. I was
once.
just really proud of thinking of the malt shop thing with a movie I know Otto's seen, and I just ruined the whole podcast. I'm sorry.
He saw Marty from the back in a malt shop once, and he thought that Marty was George. McFly. Yep.
That was in Back to the Future Part 2, and that was Marty McFly's son, Marty Jr.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting schooled
Oh,
up. He's right. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, now he's
just got-
saying it.
You just
Well-
got auto-corrected.
Okay, I got corrected there. I will say,
Dan, put some air horns there.
overview. Yes, Maltesers were originally a British confectionery product, first sold in the UK in 1937. They were invented by Forrest Mars Sr. in England, marketed originally to women as a slimming aid.
So I would love to stop the
Wow.
history lesson. Can we talk about if these went with the movie or not? Because I loved them. I think it's perfect.
I think that I wouldn't say that it's perfect, but like
Screw me.
I think the perfect snack would have been like Pop Rocks or something for this movie, especially towards the
Holy
second half.
cow! That's a really good
something
point.
that just
So what's funny is I was thinking because of how like quiet a lot of the movie was and how just like kind of tense, this gentle, sweet treat was like, oh, this is perfect. Just a nice little calm thing while I enjoy this movie. But Pop Rocks makes a lot of sense to be like just something going on. Wow.
or dehydrated ice cream little.
But
dots.
imagine 2.5 hours of Pop Rocks.
That's a lot of pop.
That's like,
Might be
With soda.
a little.
Randall, you see all those colors and you become an old man in a bed looking at yourself.
What about the Jelly Bellies? But the Jelly Bellies that have the disgusting flavors like vomit and snot and stuff, like you could have those.
Let's save that for Fight Club. We'll watch
Yeah.
Fight Club with Otto.
We literally just watched that yesterday.
How do you like it?
He did not like it. Like
I think I outgrew the film.
Yeah.
I think it just is.
That's-
It's of a different time.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
That's legit.
But
Yeah.
I loved it. It's solid 8 out of 10. 8.4.
I was going to start
8.4.
punching us out of nowhere.
All right.
But yeah, I missed the popcorn part, but I didn't have any popcorn. But I like the malt.
Yeah, malt works.
Yeah,
All right. So
Wait, we didn't have malt. What?
the malted
The
meatballs.
Maltesers.
the Maltesers, malt.
Oh.
That's why they're malt
Maltesers.
users.
Sorry, I refer to it by the movie theater version where it's a malted milk ball, which
Yeah.
is
Whopper.
Whopper.
As you
Yeah.
mentioned, it's like a Whopper but better.
Did you mention the 8.4 on the Odyssey?
No, not yet.
Oh.
We're getting around
looking at-
to. We'll zip through these ciders pretty quick.
So he says.
So I say.
To a
We don't zip
flush.
through anything quick. We don't promise our audience that. They're going to be so disappointed in us.
Zip through these pretty fast. So there were at least 3 ciders. Randall brought one. We picked up 2 over at Beer Mongers, and then we have like 4 or 5 other ones in the fridge, including a variety pack that was brought. We had one of those.
Like, you okay?
We also had a
I'm great, Aaron.
Bauman's that was
I'm being a good co-host.
added later on. So yeah, the 3 that I definitely wanted to try was the Odyssey that was from Seattle Cider. We have a Bull Run Cider Macintosh single varietal, and then the Aspall Blush Cyder with a Y instead of an I because it's British. They had a whole lot of different ciders. I wanted to get something dry to semi-sweet instead of semi-sweet to sweet because those are just sugar bombs, and we didn't want to go with that because that would not match what we were watching. We just need something dry and clean. It tastes like apple. I think it was a great choice. Aaron has got marketing copy maybe in front of him.
Putting his
or not?
readers on.
A fruity, medium-bodied cider with sweet notes of apple and blackberry, established 1728.
Yep. So this is
This is like 300 years before
it is.
2001.
So this is a 4%. It's considered just a semi-sweet,
Oh, I'm sorry. I read the wrong marketing copy.
light carbonation.
Sorry.
So
A
you
cider-
hear the first listeners, Aaron can't read.
A cider inspired by hedgerows, sweet blackberries balanced with crisp apples, crafted in the original cider house, Suffolk.
Yeah. So this is the carbonation level is medium or pet net. There's going to be an amount of dryness that originally hits, and then you definitely taste apple and a little bit of sweetness on the back, which is great. I mean, it's a really nice approach. I enjoy the fact that this as an English cider isn't funky or tastes like dropped fruit. Like a lot of English ciders can taste like they picked the fruit up off the ground, and that's totally fine. That's
Like overripe.
overripe.
So
brewed
you really mean like fruit drops on the ground?
Yes, literally.
I thought that was like a
that's
brewer
been-
term.
No, they're picking the fruit up off the ground. They're not picking it from the tree. This tastes
So-
like something fresh that they had picked.
No ground fruit.
Correct. No
Like a
funk.
potato.
The effervescence was really clean.
Mm-hmm.
It had enough flavor to hold your attention, and there was a hint of berry with it that wasn't necessarily straight apple, which was also quite nice.
There was apple and there was like some type of berry.
Generic berry, yeah. But based on the descriptions, it was apple and blackberry. So blackberry tends to be more tart than an apple, but not always, depending on the types of apples.
Doesn't it more berry manilow?
Yes. Randall's just laughing over there. Do you have any thoughts on this cider?
I loved all of them. But yeah, I liked that it wasn't too funky.
Yeah, it wasn't a natural or open ferment. It was just a clean, crisp, kind of a
agree
nice
with the
cider.
clean.
As a 4%er, you didn't taste any alcohol. It tasted like a nice juice almost without super being oversweet.
I can't think of another famous berry to like build on your joke, Blake. I'm sorry.
Berry white, dog.
Oh, geez, you're
Very
right. Oh, man.
Machi.
Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon, Aaron.
We were talking about Barry Lyndon even earlier tonight. All right.
All right.
It's okay. Nobody's perfect.
This was a.
I'm sorry,
this was a-
Blake. I can't access that data.
This was
I'm in
a,
space. Oh no.
This is a beer monger's pickup. They had it on the shelf for $10. It is
Delicious.
A little bit.
All right, that's a whole review. It's delicious. Aaron's wrong. He ain't wrong.
So 50 milliliter bottle. So tall boy can size, but bottle format.
It's a fancy tall boy.
It's a fancy.
It's a tall gentleman.
It is a tall gentleman. All right. Moving on to the second one that we tried, which was a Bull Run Cider, which Bull Run is out of Forest Grove, Oregon, which is so local here to Portland.
If I may say, I love the bottle this came in. It feels very like classy 40 kind of style.
Yeah.
It feels like something that when you're just out of college, you're like, I'm going to drink a cool like adult cider.
Yeah, I really love the bottle shape.
Yeah. And it's kind of like an old school Coke bottle-ish kind of thing. It looks like a medicine bottle almost. I mean, it's got
That's
flared
what it
lanes.
is. It's like in not in a jokey way, like vintage. Like you see it and go, ooh, that's like old school.
So the Aspall was in a tall, narrow brown bottle. This is a clear bottle, which is totally fine for cider because there's no hops. It's not going to get light struck at all. You don't have to worry about it being in the sun. It's just apple juice.
Dan, you read my mind. I was going to ask if that made a difference. Love it.
Yeah. So that's why, and it also shows you the clarity and the color, which is important for some cider drinkers. They want it to be as light as possible. If they want a light, dry cider, they want to see that it's not darker. Darker normally implies more sweet, but not always.
So
It depends on the fruit that's in it.
depending on the cidery brewery, but if they use a dark bottle, is that them kind of saying you know what you're getting because
Yeah.
you know us?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Then it also, if it's being shipped overseas, it's a less chance of it getting heat struck versus light. I mean, but yeah, because the brown's going to reflect more than the clear. It's just going to let the light go in. But I digress.
That's cool.
So this is Bull Run Cider, again out of Forest Grove. So this is a traditional Alphenvine or Alpine. So this is just straight apple. There's no interesting other fruit in it. Autumnal apple flavor is what they were looking for. I don't think they added any spices or anything. It's just a really nice clean fruit. It had a little bit of effervescent on the tongue. It actually had more head than the first one, but that fell out really fast once the oxygenation hit with it. It just flattened out, which is fine. That's what cider should do, unless it's a Perry or something that's overcarbonated. So this style of cider, very clean. Is there marketing copy on there, Aaron, that you could give us?
Old world traditions, unbridled Northwest spirit. 2018 was our watershed moment. With old world traditions in mind, we rooted ourselves in Northwest something. It's really small.
It's
really
weird that
small.
Rich just wrote the word something a couple times. That's pretty cool.
Something.
Something.
A single varietal cider. Oh, You'll have to edit this.
Macintosh
Dan, I'm sorry.
apples. No, it's all good.
Made using freshly pressed Macintosh apples from Bailey's Orchard. The cider is beautiful with ripe
Autumnal apple notes.
autumnal apple notes that are back.
Autumnal.
Yeah, I need glasses.
You do.
I'm
So
old.
real quick, Macintosh apples, from what I understand, are absolutely not made to be eaten off the tree.
They're not
You're
sweet.
supposed to put them in through processes. The way that Granny Smith is made for pies and
Well,
stuff.
there's
So that's cool. They're using the right kind of apple to make a delicious cider.
some apples are sweeter and some are not. Typically,
Is that why they called the Macintosh, the computer, the Macintosh? Because you're not supposed to eat it?
Oh, geez. Here we are.
Randall, I'm not going to keep taking you to the hospital, man. You got to stop eating your computers.
Yeah. So Vinny's,
they're really good for baking.
But you're not
Randall.
wrong.
they're what's
Stop baking your computers.
Just the Macintoshes.
I
So-
hate the IT for you guys.
they tend
Just
to be
Macintosh.
more wine-like, or vinous is the term you would use. They have the apple itself has kind of a soft texture, so you're not. I would say that's also reflected in the flavor profile, where it's not a super sharp acidic hit, which is also something you measure with cider. Is like how sharp is it, and this is fairly rounded.
Honestly, this might have been my favorite.
Yeah,
I
mean, it's
love
just
the next one that's coming up, and I loved all the ones we had, but this might be like
Straight
just my
cider.
go-to.
Yeah.
I love fall and all of its iterations, everything about it, and
All
it's
the autumnal variety.
the autumnal.
All right. If you're in the Portland metro area, you should be able to find that in some places. Most major grocery stores carry the brand. But moving on to the third one that we had, which was a Seattle cider company, Three Pepper. This was one that
Pepper.
the Randall had brought this one, and it's a quite interesting cider. Is there
I
anything-
loved it.
Did you like it?
I just discovered this. This was sent to me, and I wasn't expecting it to love it so much, but it sweet, and yet that pepper hit was just like perfect.
So yeah, poblano, habanero, and jalapeno.
It's distinctive with that spice on it too. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, alluring aromas of fresh jalapenos. This limited cider combines a taste and nuanced spice of poblano, or habanero, and jalapeno. A slight kick. It's subtly sweet. It's 6.9%. 2.6 bricks, which is a measurement of the residual sugars. Lower number means less sweet. Closer to zero is zero, meaning the neutral. If it's a negative, meaning it's drier than sweeter. If it's higher above zero, then it is sweeter than drier.
Hey, I do the copy for this
Of
one.
course.
Nutrition facts: serve size, 1 can amount per serving. Beans, I messed it up.
It's hard to do, isn't it? Oh, now you're going to give me the real small type?
Yeah.
It's not a
I mean, I can
sipper.
read it. I have glasses. I can read it fine. No, while Aaron tries to figure this out, I liked the flavor as soon as you sip it. I liked it. The afterburn where the jalapeno hits the back of your throat. I liked it okay. I'm always iffy on spicy beverage. That's why I don't like White Russians, because I consider that a spicy milk,
Okay.
which is probably not right, but I just can't
That's
get
not
into
right,
it.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's weird to me to drink a beer that it feels like it's spicy.
And
Like,
this
I
is a
appreciate
cider.
it.
This
It
is a
is
cider.
tasty.
It's
You're
a
not-
cider, not a beer.
Buddy, you got to calm down. I've had 19,000 beers today.
Ciders.
I'm gonna punch everyone in here except Otto and Randall.
Hey, but I'm funny.
So thoughts on
You're
this?
getting extra
So
punches.
it wasn't vegetal, which was concerning with the smell. The smell, jalapenos tend to be more vegetal and like green pepper, which I got a little bit of that on the aromatics, but it tasted just like pepper and not vegetal.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. The heat was super mild. Didn't really have that big of a kick, which is nice because having had ciders and beers that have been brewed and or made with lots of cider, with lots of peppers, it can get really challenging. So yeah, good choice on that one.
Yeah.
Thanks to your peeps that hooked you up with that.
Yeah. Thanks to
Good stuff. All right.
to your
Other
monolith.
thoughts on that before we move on?
Marketing copy.
All right. Marketing copy. Here we
Shout
go.
out to Randall's
A small batch cider featuring the aromas of fresh jalapenos. Three Pepper combines in the taste of fresh cut Portland
Poblanos.
poblano. What?
You really need glasses.
Habanero
Give
and
me the
jalapeno
can.
peppers. The cider starts with a kick and
And somewhere
finishes.
else.
It ends somewhere else. All right.
All right.
Naturally gluten-free and made from a custom blend of fresh pressed, Washington-grown apples, Seattle Cider Company products are handcrafted with all natural ingredients, never from concentrate.
It was the paragraph ahead of that. We needed the last sentence.
I'll do it again.
Okay.
A small batch cider featuring the aroma of fresh jalapenos. Three pepper
Jalapenos.
combines the taste of
Not so
fresh
easy
cut
now, is it?
Grano, habanero, and jalapeno peppers.
So Blake, do you like micheladas? You like
Micheladas.
Yes, I love a michelada.
interesting.
TPK Brewing does a phenomenal lager michelada, and it makes me so happy. I always get
Spice
it.
doesn't bother you on that?
A little bit
Are
of
they
kick.
spicy? Yeah,
But not as much kick as this had. Like they have like more flavor kick with some spice. This had a lot more spice than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I wouldn't get this. I wouldn't drink a whole can.
Blake, when you get like Mexican food or Thai food, do you get the spicy, the medium, or the not
I am a
spicy?
Caucasian male, so I get the mild, and then I start crying anyway.
And add your own spice level as appropriate.
Well, what I do is I suck out all the spicy stuff, suck all the juices, and say, "I'm sorry, can I please get a cotton ball?"
So your palate is different than mine here because I typically go spicy on those things, and that might influence
Aaron,
how
I was
we-
mostly joking. I am trying to get my palate back to spicy. I usually add the sriracha to most things I eat. Not a lot, but enough to add a little bit of heat.
Okay.
But I can't. This heat was more than I was ready for. Granted, it was the fourth cider we were drinking, so I was.
Yeah.
When I get a couple in, I start going faster.
Yeah.
And I don't let my palate cool down.
That's
Listener, tune in next time when Aaron challenges Blake to a Hot Ones style contest.
I'm in. I love that show so much. I will absolutely do that.
Okay, but with like the hot
Ask me
sauce.
All right.
insane questions about my life that I didn't.
As we
know
start
about.
crying, both because we're eating.
Yes,
super
please.
hot
I would
food.
love
Okay.
that.
All right.
Yeah. Do you do hot food?
Brando and
Dan-
Otto, you'll have to officiate.
Do you do hot stuff?
Dan,
Hot
I'm
foods?
sorry I yelled.
Oh yeah, I love spicy stuff.
Right on.
Get him on Get him on there. Let's ask questions about
hot
him being a
ones. Well, that
12-year-old.
could be the next Blake. What do you do, Blake? Blake does many things.
Stuff Blake does.
Stuff Blake
you mean
does. And hot stuff.
Substack.com/Blakerton?
Yes. All right. So
Just
the
search
next one,
Stuff Blake does on Substack.
as I said, we went through a bunch of different ciders simply because I wanted to just try them. We got a variety of different ones, and the next one was from Bauman Cider Company, which is they have a tap room here.
Oh my
in
God, we
downtown.
still have two more.
Yes, we do. This is the Oak Street Bauman Cider Farm. Well,
You didn't sound that sad
Century-
about it drinking them.
Oak Street Dry Bauman Century Farm Cider. Let me get it right. So this one is actually just a cider that was made and produced for their Oak Street location, which used to be a brewery, and went through a couple of different iterations before Bauman's bought it. They did not have a tap room outside of their actual farm. If you have a chance to go there to the tap room, it's an amazing experience. They got like 14 different ciders available on draft, plus a bunch of guest ciders, and they have local food that you can enjoy. So this was also, I think, similar to the second one, to the Bull Run, in that it was just a clean standard cider. It didn't have anything special going on. It just had a semi-sweet to more dry approach. It had just a really nice level of carbonation that didn't overpower the tongue or anything. The acidity level was really mild on this one as compared to the other ones, I think. So more of a fruit juice approach than a sharp acidic. There's not a whole lot of copy on the can, Aaron. You're
There's only a
staring
little
at it.
bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll mess
Exceptionally-
it up.
Hey. Exceptionally crisp, totally dry cider, an ode to our second location in Portland, Oregon.
Right on. Thoughts on this one, Randall? I know you had a sip of everything, so
Yeah, this was out of the 5 that we sipped on. I think I would rank this somewhere in the middle.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said the phrase classic cider, and someone asked me what I meant, and I panicked and didn't know. But
That was
It's
me
kinda
asking
classic.
you what you meant. What did you mean by panic, Blake?
He's breathing.
Was it like breathing on screen with Kubrick breathing?
no, well, he
Reading
probably did
audio?
it in a booth. Aaron, come on.
Okay.
No, I mean, it just feels like what I consider to be a classic cider. Like it's got some body, but it's a little dry. It's not really over sweet. I know there's sweet ciders. Like Dan, I've gone to that spot in Southeast where my
It's nothing but
my
sweet.
palate was so shot. I was like, I can't taste food anymore. But this felt like what I consider a classic cider to me, which is just, good crisp. It's something you drink during the fall.
Yeah.
Like something just crisp, not too heavy.
Bauman's tries to do that. I think they're going for the more natural American style ciders and not European style, because the French, Basque, Spanish, English, they all have kind of a style depending on the type of yeast they're using and the type of apples and how old they are. The more heirloom style ciders, which I think this follows that pattern of using old growth apples that aren't, again, not edible. You don't want to just eat them. They might be okay for baking or for using as a raw product in something such as cider, but you wouldn't want to just eat them straight.
Yeah,
off
not the
tree.
one you take to your teacher who then takes a bite out of it and goes like, well, I'm failing you now.
Yeah, because it's super tart.
I'm not like an arborist, but I do know apples typically they propagate them by grafting an existing apple tree onto a new rootstock. And they do that because if you grow an apple from the seed, the new tree with the new apple, that doesn't necessarily taste anything like the parent apple that it came from.
Really?
So there's over 7,500 different varieties of apples.
And like every Granny
So
Smith
keep an eye
you
out
had-
for my new podcast.
Apple a day.
No, YouTube. That's way better. I was gonna say YouTube short and an apple, but that's way better.
So like every Granny Smith you had, it's because they propagated the same tree onto a different rootstock. It is the same expression of apple every time. So when you think of like the mythology of Johnny Appleseed planting all of these seeds around, he's getting all these kind of apples that you wouldn't necessarily eat. And we think of him as being kind of this wholesome, pioneering American, early
never
figure.
liked Johnny
They've been around a long time.
But no, what he was doing is like putting around all these apples to make apple brandy.
Varieties, yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if an apple's sweet, you can still make Applejack out of it.
Yes, you can.
Is that
And
what
so-
Hundreds of Beavers was about?
Yeah.
Yes. And so Dan, I was going to ask like Calvados or these other like apple liqueur, like
Okay.
how is that different from a cider?
So let me
noob question for our audience.
Let me step back for a second and say there's over 7,500 varieties being grown worldwide. There's over 30,000 different kinds of apples in the world. Because of that very reason, they've just been
So I
grafted
should
and
start a
grown.
podcast about eating apples. I'm into it.
30,000 episodes later.
Do you guys know how we figured out how to graft apples so we can get consistent apples?
The Romans invented coppicing.
Monolith.
Monolith.
I've been corrected.
Sound monolith. Monolith. Go.
Obviously.
Aren't
right?
those lines expensive? No.
Is there any other way we could have figured that out?
No.
Aaron,
Just know
please.
it's
The
like
line
we
is,
need
aren't those bones expensive?
Superior
Come on,
intelligence
man.
here.
So who wants to join me on my Apple a Day podcast?
I will if there's crab apples.
Well, so it's just me and Otto.
Oh, all right. Okay.
We'll have you for the crab apple episode.
Okay.
Crab apple episode.
Oh my
Guess
God.
crab.
So the last one.
What's up, Otto?
The last. All right, just go ahead.
Otto has a bit.
I would like to rename the podcast to something related to keeping the doctor away, but if we can't think of anything better, we could just keep that. Yeah.
I don't want to get in line with people who don't like doctors.
I got a problem with that Dr. Oz guy.
I mean, he's not great, but Professor Otto has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Blake and Master Otto. We can work with
All right,
this.
we'll work on this. We're
Just
digressing, or just that. All right. So the
So
last
tell-
one is called Odyssey Cider.
You
and it's
never
from-
answered my question about Calvados.
Okay. So there are different types of beverages that you can call many different things based on what the base is and then what's been mixed with it and what are those percentages.
Okay.
Really, there's beer that's mixed with cider. There's hard alcohol that's mixed with cider. There's other ciders mixed with ciders. There's champagne and wines of every variety mixed with cider. And those are all called something different. And it's based, again, on what your base liquid is that you're mixing things into and at what percent. So when I say, I'm adding 80% of cider into a beer, well, that's a cider because it's over 30% apple.
Mhm.
So you could just do 30% apple and it would still be called a cider, but you could do 80%, it would be called a cider.
So there's like a legal limit that like a threshold that has to be above.
Yeah. So when you're judging cider, looking at it, there's still, pellet, and sparkling. Those are your three levels of carbonation. There's dry, semi-dry, medium, semi-sweet, and sweet. So we have discovered that unless there's like a bar on the can or bottle you got, and it's measuring out like the middle is the zero, like I said, dry is going to be more dry is going to be below zero, and then higher, and that's looking at residual sugars that are left over as compared to other products. None of these cans have a line on them, by the way.
One of these cans did have a line. You're gaslighting
I
me.
know. I think
It's fine.
The Bauman's, the other
Don't
Bauman's
stress it.
had
We're,
one. I
we're
think.
going so long.
Anyway, yeah, we're a little over. The last
Part
one
of
that
that's
we
my
had
fault. I apologize.
is Odyssey, and Odyssey is again another straight cider, but it's more of an imperial style because it's like 8.6%. It's pretty high.
Oh, this one has a line
Yeah.
between the dry and sweet. I would love to try the copy for real, not doing a bit. I want to actually try it.
All right.
Find your adventure. This cider is for the ones ready to write their own story, crisp, balanced, and semi-sweet. It's perfect for the moments that make memories. Today's your next adventure. Grab an Odyssey and make it epic.
Oh, there you go. Epic. So this one had a little bit more alcohol heat to it, but not much. Just a little touch. A little bit more sharpness, nice carbonation on the tongue. So palate like medium carbonation, medium dry to dry. I enjoyed this one just as much as all the ones that we thought were the really best.
Yeah, this
I
one
really
wasn't
liked
bad. This
Yeah.
one was pretty good, and I appreciate the name.
Do you think it worked for the end of the movie? Because that's when most of us had it. And that was the most visually, not stunning, visually, not,
Expressive?
yeah, exactly.
Innovative?
Yeah, it works. Visually
Challenging?
expressive, visually challenging, visually.
It was the strongest
exciting.
beer for the strongest moment of the movie.
Ooh.
Yes.
You all
Oh.
nailed it better than I could have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, good job. All right, lots of great ciders. Great suggestion. Thank you for bringing ciders to share.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
glad I
Randall.
had a chance to go pick some up on our way. Find something interesting to try with this movie. If you're gonna drink something, have it be a super light lager or a sour or a fruit beer that warms up and changes as it warms, because you're gonna want to just sip a little bit as you go.
Or an apple brandy like Kava
Or an apple
does.
brand, yeah.
Ooh,
Well, there you go.
There we go.
Thoughts on the ciders? I find something local.
Find something local, something you like. It's a long movie.
Yeah, get some popcorn.
Get
some popcorn?
Get a
Yeah.
12-pack.
Get a 12-pack
Of popcorn?
Plus you alone in the dark.
I have a case of popcorn in small bags and potato chips. I was like, we're just going to start going through these because,
Delicious.
Good food.
We're wrapping up our ciders.
Yeah,
I think I have a final question for Otto as we're kind of pulling together here for the end. I was going to say, you've watched The Shining, and now you've watched 2001: A Space Odyssey. Do you have a next Kubrick film that you want to see, and why are you choosing the film that you want to see next?
I have multiple ideas. So we were talking about this pre-podcast, pre-Blake arriving.
We talked about all the interesting stuff
stomped
before
in
Blank got here.
screaming and yelling.
I've been reading A Clockwork Orange, and I feel like I want to. And I
Awesome, dude.
I like to watch that after I finish the book, but I'm a very slow reader, so I think that's going to be a couple of months away.
It's quite a book, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Like the author literally made up an entire diction or vocabulary,
Like slang, basically.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
slang. Like every time there's a word that I don't recognize, I have to flip to the back of the book and be like, "Oh, that means to look or see."
Welcome to high school reading, man.
It's not easy.
But realistically, it's not going to be that. But like in terms of realism and stuff, I think probably Full Metal Jacket because it's only like 2 hours long. It's in terms of a Kubrick film, it's short. It's definitely one of the shorter ones, and I feel like that's still like visually stunning, and that isn't black and white. No offense to black and white films, but
right. Randall, you're like rubbing your head. And like,
Oh, no. It's a long one.
okay.
It's a long one. But yeah,
just like the movie.
just like this movie was a long one.
Full Metal Jacket is, but it's also, I think, one of the better Vietnam films.
It's definitely
out
one of the
there.
better Vietnam movies. It's a little dark.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark.
But isn't every Kubrick
every
movie
Not
film's a
to
little-
dive back into the black and white, but
Dr. Strangelove,
Dr.
or
Strangelove,
How I
there
Learned
we
to
go.
Stop
Yeah,
Worrying and
forgetting
Love the Bomb.
I do want to watch that. I've added that to a watch list.
That might be like Kubrick's only comedy, I think.
like he has one or two jokes in this movie, but that's like packed full of. I mean, Peter Sellers,
Peter Sellers.
he's hilarious.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just an incredible commentary on Cold War. Yeah,
Yeah, Cold War and the politicians and generals that were. It's a really good social commentary.
I just think a lot about the joke that you remind me, Aaron, where they go, "Gentlemen, please, there's no fighting in the war room."
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite jokes in movies ever.
It's a great line.
It did. The set looked like
food for
it.
thought. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Is
But you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola company. Oh man, there's so many great.
So an option for another Kubrick film to watch.
So if you
And
had,
honestly, his only comedy.
if you had another snack or something that you might
Lyndon,
recommend, would you do something sweet or something savory like the popcorn sort of was the butter popcorn? I mean, you had something sweet with the kettle corn, but would you have any other snacks you would recommend? Like
I mean, like I said, Pop Rocks would be amazing during the color sequence.
yeah. They have nerd pop rock combination
Yeah,
packs.
probably that like
How about some pickled asparagus?
There you go. I was going to say a vegetable of some sort would be
It's heresy.
Just
I know,
broccoli with
beets.
mayonnaise on
I want
it.
pickled
A
beets.
juice box. What was all that shit they were eating this movie? Juice this and mush that.
I know,
The hell? I
right?
feel so sorry. Kubrick made him eat that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
They weren't faking it.
He's a tyrant for details, and
that was a real fork they were using. And I'm like, well, I hope they didn't lose it.
I like how they're using a fork on like a flat square thing. Get a spoon, man.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
know.
mush.
Yeah, they're like eating like meat jello and broccoli jello with a fork.
I was confused about the straws in the 8-piece juice thing, and so I was like, I wonder what that's for. And I saw him drinking out of it, like, oh, now I'm sad for him.
Well, yeah,
I
you
feel
know, because it'd be
bad.
hard to cut it upside down in weightlessness. You know, it's
It says
easier
you.
in weightlessness to just drink
I'll
it.
prove you wrong.
I know, right?
Cut to, I have to be in the hospital because I tried to cut an orange upside down.
Am I going to start calling you Katy Perry because you've been to space?
No, God, no.
Space.
Space.
Yeah, space.
They kiss the ground.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So in this movie,
I'm more Bender Rodriguez than Katy Perry.
there's like receptionists and stewardesses and like many characters, and they all wear these like
Weird
little pill hats.
Yes.
It was
Like-
the 60s.
Those
These
are
1960s
60s, man.
space pill hats. Like,
And lots of product placement.
yeah, IBM was in here. Honeywell, I think. was.
Hinton.
Hilton.
Hilton.
Yeah.
I like how he was
Hojo.
What was the restaurant?
Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson's. Yeah.
That wasn't a restaurant. That's a hotel chain.
That's a hotel chain.
Hojo's is a hotel
I
chain.
thought that was a Canadian.
No.
You know what's funny? I was thinking Tim
Howard
Hortons.
Johnson's a
Oh,
hotel chain.
that's what I'm. Yeah,
I think I.
Yeah.
that's
you and
what
I both.
confused too.
You and I both. Tim
Aaron
Hortons.
and I- Aaron and I are
I
so
mean,
American.
Lots of product placement.
We just
Anyway.
don't know our hockey player or restaurant entrepreneurs.
Nah, bud, I sure don't.
Yeah, because
Not
Tim
yet.
Horton was a hockey player and then a restaurant.
Hey, Dan, do you like how I realized that the Shorzy voice is too loud for the podcast? Like halfway through.
Yeah.
I never said I was your Canada expert.
Yeah, but you're closer. You grew up closer to than we did. But anyway,
So
so
I should like Shorzy.
I think if you have the time and interest, if you have young adults, because there's no.
Please watch this.
This
It's
is a PG
It's
film.
a
No,
classic.
it's actually G. So
G? Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's she.
it would be so funny to like watch this with like a 4-year-old. Like
Oh my God,
mean,
why torture
They
them?
would
Well,
sleep.
they'd probably fall. And with
Yeah.
Dan, they'd
They
fall
would fall
asleep.
asleep. It would be so
No,
boring.
but absolutely, like try to watch this film. Like this
Yeah.
is a classic film.
It-
I don't throw that term around loosely. This is
it
not,
set the standard.
I don't know if it's required viewing. It's really, really good though.
If you like sci-fi, I think if you like sci-fi, I can recommend this film. If you like philosophical movies, thinking movies, like I can recommend this for that audience also.
And if you're scared of AI taking over the planet, watch it. 'Cause
This
it does.
movie has so many good questions about AI that we did not talk about.
Yeah.
We could do a whole other hour-long episode talking
Yeah,
about
maybe
AI.
another day.
Hey Dan,
We'll do
hold
it
off
after
on
the episode.
hold off on posting this until we can meet again.
it's really a timeless movie.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
agree with that.
definitely 2001.
Technology.
I mean, it's
Listeners, I'm dabbing really hard right now.
Yeah.
That wasn't being done in 2001.
It's being done right now.
It's being done now as is the half empty container of water.
Because it,
Well, I'm sorry, Dan. If you do not hydrate, you will dehydrate.
I'm sorry, I cannot do that, Dave.
I cannot fill up your water bottle, Dave.
as an AI language model, I can.
So that was like maybe the most iconic scene of this movie is the "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that."
Open the pod bay open the pod
Yeah,
bay
and
doors,
And then,
Hal.
but then also the first time we saw the monolith with the
With the apes.
responding to it, I think that was another. And then
It's been parodied pretty often. The Barbie trailer parodied with the
they
Barbie
did
figure. Yeah,
they did. But then I think maybe like, is there a third kind of high level iconic scene from this film?
I would argue the eye blinking when the color changes. I've seen that parodied in a lot of like cartoons and other cinema.
Yeah.
Is there anything you recognize, Otto, from things you've watched before?
I feel like that scene of what's his name? Dave.
Dave.
Yeah, with like the red spacesuit walking through that like white chamber thing. I think that's definitely one of the more iconic.
Seen that a few times.
Yeah.
That felt really familiar, and I've only seen this movie twice.
Well, I
Twice.
think
Is this your second time or?
Yeah.
I think this is maybe my third, possibly fourth. But
If you
I
count
think
when I
Star
fell asleep-
Child,
if you
the last scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's also like I made a joke about it at the end of the movie. It's on the DVD and Blu-ray covers.
Yeah.
Like they show the Star Child's space baby next to the Earth on the cover. Like, well, that feels like a spoiler, right?
But if you see that, you know instantly what movie it is. If you see that image,
That's true.
you know instantly. And if you see the monolith with apes,
you know it more than if you saw Dave with all the lights reflected on his face.
right.
You're right.
Or
You're
even
right.
the spaceship. If I saw that spaceship on a poster, I'd be like, "Oh, geez, what?"
Oh, it's a knockoff of
sci-fi-
Spaceballs.
Which 70 eras movie are we watching?
It looks like a knockoff of Spaceballs.
It kind of does.
the way,
but
the
like,
way that Spaceballs really apes it.
I think
so
Black
well.
Hole did it better, but I digress.
but like, I think
We all
you know,
digress,
I'll
Dan.
watch The Black Hole any day over this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do not like you don't
It's a long movie. It could have been 30 minutes. It really could have. Honestly though, it was a short story
It was.
It was.
by Arthur C.
Was
Clarke. This was not like some
Yeah.
500-page novel.
No, it
Like
was a short
It was
story.
a short story.
It could have been short. It should have been short.
Kubrick really feasted on the film that he used for it. Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's
keep
all the space
digressing, but-
ballet.
Oh, it is.
Space Ballet. It's called Space Ballot.
Ballot. All right. As always, the opinions expressed during taping this recording are those of the hosts
And IBM.
and IBM. We would like to thank you for being willing to sit
Johnson.
through this episode and listen and enjoy our conversation we had about it. Thank you to our wonderful youth correspondent and his dad, Randall, who's always here to help and support and give us great ideas.
And delicious ciders.
And delicious ciders this time around. So
Thanks for joining us on this journey, listener. Until next time, please do not let your AI de-skill you.
This is co-host Blake saying thank you for listening, and please go ahead out into space. I won't do anything. Wink, wink. I didn't mean to wink there.
robots don't wink.
I wink out. Shut the hell up.
Hal's only got one eye. He only blinks.
I'll punch you.
All right. Oh, jeez.
And this is Randall saying, read the book first, maybe, right? Otto? Read the book, and then
Before we listen to the podcast?
Then read the book of the podcast, and then listen to the podcast, and then
watch the movie.
and then watch the movie and the novelization of.
I'm Otto, and see you next Wednesday.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks.